There we go. I think we're on the air. Hey, we're live. Hi, everybody.
Now we're live.
Okay, cool. Is this chopped and screwed, or is that an actual? Is that a studio recording?
That is a studio recording of Lightning Crashes. Some would say the best song about infant mortality. Or matron mortality? Mother
Is
mortality?
it the mom who dies?
Oh, yeah, the old mother dies.
I wouldn't. So I'm not as much of a live aficionado as you are. I would contend that the
No
best.
shit.
I mean, I will concede. I will concede. Okay. No. I would consider the best song about infant mortality to be unassailably "Tears in Heaven."
That's the grossest song about infant mortality.
Didn't he straight up come out and say like he's kind of over it?
Over his son's death?
Yes.
Over the song.
Over his son's untimely death via.
It almost sounded like you called him an unson.
Yeah.
Like he's become an unson. You start out having a son, and then there are too many tears in heaven, and you get an unson.
He disowned him after that song fell off the chart.
Yeah, I have no son. No.
I know. Like everybody knows. Like everybody in the world knows that you don't have a son.
Everyone's single about it, asshole. We know you have no son.
You jerk.
Look, Clapton.
Ugh.
Yeah. So there's songs about babies dying, and then there's songs about mothers dying.
Okay.
And they're both very important categories to consider.
Sorry, I was drinking a beer there. We're gonna have less room for that since it's just the two of us this time.
Yeah. Yeah, so everybody who's watching or listening to this later, can we say why it's just the two of us?
Yes. We have been given his blessing to say so.
Okay. Yeah, we were going to be joined by Dennis Furious Furia, and unfortunately, not unfortunate at all, he had his babby early.
Yeah.
Which is great. Everyone's doing good?
Yes, even still. So I'm going to be going to visit them this weekend, depending on when they are cleared for visitors. Yeah.
Yeah. Good news. Go Dennis.
It is a bouncing baby boy.
Yeah. Tiny little Furia.
Yeah.
So that's great.
So that is good. We are all incredibly happy for him. But it leaves us just flying. Not solo. What's the opposite of solo? Flying duo. There we go.
Solo Bolo.
Solo Bolo. There we
That's
are.
what these are called.
Yeah, there we go. Well, we got a viewer. Hey, what up?
Hey guys. What up?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So I'm going to try my best to watch the comments here as well. This is the July episode of Duckfeed Live. Thank you, everybody, for backing us on Patreon. We're here to celebrate.
Indeed. Yeah. I totally forgot. If you forgot it was Thursday, I forgot too. So don't feel too bad. But you can definitely catch up at a later time. Yeah,
and I'll do better. So last month I kind of goofed it by not putting it up on time. So because I literally did the show and then hopped on vacation actually. So I apologize for that.
No, it's no big deal.
Yeah. But we're here to read questions and answer questions and such. Sorry, I've got like 15 billion buzzers going off. If you're wondering what the thing Cole's going to be fidgeting with all episode is this month, it is an adjustable ratcheting screwdriver. Yeah.
Looks like a cool e-cig.
Yeah. I'm a Bluetooth wizard.
Yeah. Look at you. You vape apes.
Vapes.
You're one of those vape apes. Vapeapes.com.
I'm just picturing that like a holographic bumper sticker.
No, for vape apes?
Yeah, designed to really just catch the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, vaping's not a crime.
The trick about secret thing about vaping is, I do officially think it's kind of dorky. Nick does it, and I adore Nick. But we did Game Retreat the other weekend, and I split a room with him, and he just kind of vaped all night long, and it makes it smell like really good incense. Like it just smells like you're walking into a delicious dessert every time you go to bed. I'm sleeping in a flan. Like a nice set of flan sheets.
Oh man, I got a flan plan.
Yeah, that was the plan for the night.
So does he roll around with a fine leather case that has different cartridges depending on the flavor mood, or does he have a particular scent or flavor that he prefers?
I know he's tried distilling his own,
Okay.
kind of making his own through that, but I think he just kind of orders them, and he's definitely trends towards the dessert.
Mm,
I think most of them do. I think it's like either mint or sweet.
yeah.
There aren't like BBQ like vapes.
Savory.
Yeah, well, that's what like cigars taste like, more or less. Like some
Yeah.
cigars taste like barbecue. Bad
Man,
ones.
lucky. I think that might be actually just barbecue. Some barbecue just tasting like cigars.
That's
Because
probably true.
the
So
the, liquid,
barbecue.
the liquid smoke on your Galaxy waffles. Sorry, I have to get
Yeah.
in next card for possible titles.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I apologize for using a back scratcher like a hillbilly.
You should get one of those. The Balloon Boy Dad markets a product that is like it's like a tree trunk, like a plastic tree trunk that you affix to a corner.
Hmm. So you can like the bare necessities,
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, precisely. There's an infomercial for it out there, although I think he is banned from making money until they pay back all those rescue. That was 5 years ago, Gary.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Balloon
little.
Boy. It's not like it's. I don't think it's entered the public parlance like Bubble Boy or other boys of our time. Like Balloon Boy is definitely a thing, but I think that he's more or less getting away with it.
Yeah, and I actually would like that if that entered the lexicon because that was a particular flavor, at least an early salvo in like the attention-seeking. I'm going to do this crazy thing to try and get on a show.
Yeah, or like the Kickstarter potato salad guy almost. I mean, I guess not really, but just like doing. I guess that's totally different. But doing something just attention seeking for internet fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he fund his thing? Was that?
I don't know how that turned out. I mean, he made his money like 1,000 times over, but I don't know how it ended.
Yeah. Doing a little bit of do a little bit of research there. Yeah. The only time I tried an e-cig, it was like way back at the beginning of the trend, and I think it was just like vanilla or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Basic e-cig.
yeah, I was unimpressed with my man-sized rip in my lip.
There's still 36 hours left on the potato salad, and it's at $53,000.
Jeez.
Yep. Go fuck yourself, Zach Danger Brown.
Danger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Irritating. Do we want to jump to a question?
Yeah, like we can start answering some questions. If people are watching and have more questions, we're a little light this month, so
Yeah.
ask them.
Yeah, keep them going. We're gonna be here. Oh, it needs to download the app. Why is this called an app?
Google Hangouts.
Pure of Google Hangouts?
Mm.
I don't
I
know.
don't understand anything about how Google Hangouts works.
Neither do I. Yeah. So let's see here. Top of the list here. Brandon Douglas. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon.
Yeah. I expect to see you at PRGE.
Yeah, man.
Gary. Yeah. He writes in and says, favorite game that involves food? Food. I'll open up here and
Okay.
say Deadly Premonition.
Oh, yeah, that is very much about food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is about being a garbage-eating trash monster. Probably even more so than Bioshock Infinite is. Yeah.
I'm gonna say River City Ransom.
Yeah.
That'll be my answer for that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of games involve food,
This
but
is true. What is it? A Castlevania wall meat?
yeah,
Yeah, that's a pretty good. That's a pretty compelling alternative, actually.
that's a good. Yeah, but I mean, like food is more inherently important, and well, it's not like mechanically more important in Deadly Premonition. He just talks about it a lot, and there's just lots of types of it. It doesn't matter what you eat in that game, but
You can subsist entirely on lollipops.
yeah, just like lollipops all the time, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you think about games with a hunger meter, Fallout New Vegas with hardcore
Survival mode.
Yeah, survival. That quickly becomes a packaged foods eating simulator.
Yeah, or just about any old school roguelike has cool food mechanics usually. Like if you play Sharon the Wanderer, you become a hungry boy from time to time.
Yeah. Then in NetHack, you have to worry about the food being cursed or poisoned or something like that?
Yeah, basilisk meat, turn you to stone.
Yeah. I've been dipping into, because of the Steam Summer Sale, and the accompanying Steam Summer Sale thread on a game called Long Live the Queen.
Okay.
And it's pretty embarrassing to play. Like I would never play it out in the open because it very much is like like you're raising an anime princess.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
That's an old school genre game, like Princess Simulator. There's actually just isn't that like a game? There's just Princess Maker.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
old.
there is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like one of your primary like skill sets you can get is like medicine, and a subset of that is poison. And I've just been pumping a bunch of points into that, assuming that somebody's going to try and poison my food.
Yeah. Or you want to poison someone else's food.
Oh,
Not
intrigue!
belly into your feet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Cincinnati switch up.
Yeah. 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 Um, yeah, I love poison. I always like the idea of poison, but it never works in games the way I want it to. Like, I feel like my best opportunities of being a poisonist are in Elder Scrolls games.
Yeah.
Like becoming a poison archer works really well.
Mhm.
But I always try to do it in like D&D, and poison kind of sucks in D&D.
Yeah. Poison actually is really good. I mean, we talk about Dark Souls a lot. Like poison is a very effective strategy in a lot of ways, so that's pretty good too.
Yeah. Even with like super high poison, like in Whip Fest, I've got the poison whip now, which has like the highest poison adjust, and I infused it with poison and have it upgraded, and I'm wearing the rat ring that gives you more poison, and it still takes a few whip slashes to poison somebody, even just a basic undead. So nobody gets poisoned quick, sadly. And I was using a twin blade for a little while that was poisonous, because you get so many attacks in a row, and that also doesn't poison things quick enough. And I was doing like 30 damage. I had to abandon that in the DLC. It's not going to cut it.
Yeah. Are you including the puzzle sword in Whipfest?
I'm going to go grab it and try it and see if I like it more. I consider that to be a whip hybrid. If I'm using Fire Whip, the Pyromancy, I can use the puzzle sword.
Okay.
But I just need to have the courage to bring Bryson Tyson into the DLC, because the DLC is so hard, and the whips don't do very much damage. So.
Yeah, this is true.
No distance attacks.
Yeah, that is a really unfortunate thing, because my PC, my Steam Dark Souls character is a hexer, and I'm just doing no damage at all to anything.
Yeah. I brought
the boss.
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I went through the DLC, I went through New Game Plus with my hexer, and she's pretty tough, so like she made it, but I had to rest at every bonfire just to get spells back. Or I wasn't going to make it. Like, everything took a lot of hits. And then I went through with a strength character, which is like the one I'm using for the DLCs. I decided to make a character that would be easy at everything, and he had no problem. Like, strength is still ridiculously overpowered, even with the calibrations.
Yeah. A genre game that like food used to be really important was MMOs. Did you like you never dipped into MMOs, but like I remember back in EverQuest. Actually, like being in a guild where people really spent a lot of time sweating the food because of stat buffs. Yeah.
You ever play? Or I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, and just like that would be a huge part of like raid preparation, is like the guild leader who was a bard running around singing songs and handing out canapes. Yeah.
You ever play Star Ocean?
No.
Star Ocean has a pretty robust recipe and food system. For essentially the same thing. Like you learn to make food, and it gives you stat buffs.
Nice.
And The Sims. Sims has a strong food element.
True. I always whenever they give me an opportunity to make to declare a favorite food, it's always waffles.
Yeah.
Waffles all the time.
I like that you could do grilled in the first one that included ambitions. You get that disease that turned you into a grilled cheese maniac. Like, that was very funny to me.
A grilled golem.
Yeah, you just all of your aspirations start having to do with grilled cheeses. Like, give this person a grilled cheese. Write a novel about grilled cheeses. Paint a picture about grilled cheeses. And you also keep making what is it? Sloppy carbonara is one of the things that you make all the time. That's a signature Sims dish. That's disgusting.
Yeah. Lobster thermidor.
Yeah.
God, I love The Sims so much.
Yeah, me too. I'm like probably nearing, like, it's a real depression game for me. Like, oh, I want to design a living space in life that I have complete control over. Yeah. But I'm almost like, I'm not super depressed, but I'm almost ready for to dig it back out.
Yeah. Well, Sims 4 is coming out in like 2 months, right?
Yeah. Incremental improvements over Sims 3.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Sims 2 went free, I think. You can get Sims 2 for free now.
Yeah, because they stopped supporting it.
Yeah, through EA, which is pretty cool because Sims 2 is fine.
Yeah, Sims 2 is great. I like they also made all the expansions free as
Yeah,
well. Something
yeah,
crazy like that. And oh my gosh, the Sims 2 expansion is like open for business, where you can actually like just basically start your own shop at your house.
yeah.
One of my favorite
That's,
it's like making lemonade stands,
yeah, yeah,
combined with your Sims.
yeah. Super cool. Like, yeah, that's what I should do instead of installing Sims 3. I should
Hmm.
go install Sims 2 on this recent Sims something. Because Sims 3 is cool, but I don't like none of the incremental improvements add up to too much in those games. Like the expansions make a bigger difference than the sequels.
Yeah, true that. I liked in Sims 3 the move to like just a smoother full 3D.
Yeah, yeah, it looks cooler, and you can go to the town more and do more things in the town, which is cool.
Yeah.
But it's still like the basic, like I guess like the thing that doesn't really improve is the house building stuff. Like always ends up being more or less the same for me. And I even remember Sims 2 having, it might be because I had some kind of collector's edition that had more things unlocked, but having more options.
Yeah.
Where I remember thinking like, oh, there's only like 8 floors I can choose from when I first booted up Sims 3. Yeah, he's trying to get money out of me.
Yeah. No, that's been a problem too. Like you jump to the base game after having like, okay, my Sims can be wizards and shit, and now they have to be
Yeah.
politicians or criminals.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of Metroid.
Oh, sorry.
Or it's okay. Like, yeah, you lose all your powers and go back to being basic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
Are you familiar with this concept of the basic bitch, Cole?
What?
It's a hip hop thing, and I keep wanting to say I don't like saying the word bitch,
Right.
but I got kind of fascinated with this phrase over the weekend and was reading about it, and now it's like my favorite thing to say, and I'm trying not to because I don't want to be the kind of person who says bitch that often, even if it is referring to a very specific thing. Um, but like Urban Dictionary has an amazing definition of like what turns you into a basic bitch or like what makes you a basic bitch, and they're no good. Like you want to be a bad bitch or a mad bitch. You don't want to be a basic bitch. And there's a pretty funny college humor video too about with Patrick Warburton in it.
It's popularized by Lil Duval and probably my favorite rap name I've ever seen, Spoken Reasons.
Oh, that's a great rap name.
Yeah.
Previously, my favorite rap name was Professor Murder. But like, but yeah,
So,
it's a thing.
the Urban Dictionary definition for this is a bum ass woman who thinks she the shit but really ain't.
It's that, and then also like of course, white people are co-opting it and just making it just mean plain and boring and stuff. Like, there's a good bit in the that Patrick Warburton video because he's a doctor breaking into this woman that she's contracted basic bitchness, and he's like, you went on Instagram and took a picture from Vegas and used the hashtag what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But here's the thing. We know what happened in Vegas. You got drunk and danced with your friends. It's pretty good. And like, using the hashtag caffeine at Starbucks and stuff like that. That's basic bitch stuff to do. Or just basic if you don't want to say bitch.
Yeah, just a basic fool.
Yeah, you just don't want. Yeah, you don't want to be basic. You want to be bad or mad.
Yeah, just to be as bland as possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, although I do like it. It's amusing to me, so I'm going in and watching The Wire, right?
Oh yeah.
Because it's on Amazon Instant or whatever now, which has probably been the single biggest improvement to my life in the past month, which is upsetting. And noticing how much of that vernacular is just shit that I say.
Yeah. Yeah, like you get it from that. You've watched The Wire or no?
No, I have not. This is my first, not my first exposure. I've seen the first episode about 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, it's a grower. Where are you at?
Middle of season 3.
Okay, that's a good season.
Yeah.
Season 4 I think is probably the peak.
Really?
Yeah, but
Nice.
season 5 is still good, but season 4 is phenomenal. Yeah, I need to rewatch that show. That's good shit.
Yeah. No, I'm really enjoying it. I'm happy that I have an easy way, because that way I don't really have any excuse not to.
Yeah. Yeah, watch it in bed.
What? Yeah.
Or bed.
I'm gonna move on to Deadwood after that, I think.
Oh yeah, great. This is good. You're doing good.
Yes. Just basically all of these HBO shows I've never had access
Yeah.
to.
You should.
Oh.
Yeah.
Pop into Entourage, see what Turtle's up to.
Yeah. Hey Turtle. Talking about Turtle. Yeah.
What's this?
Talking about Turtle was a fake thing from the You Talking You to Me
Okay.
podcast, and they had a fake call-in thing where Paul F. Tompkins asked if he thought that Turtle was a guy named Turtle or he was once a real turtle that was turned into a guy. Uh, he's like, hey, do you all think that Turtle's just called Turtle, or do you think that he was once a turtle and got turned into a man? Well, we don't know. That's it for another episode of Talking About Turtle.
Like a reverse witches situation.
Yeah.
Oh, is she a basic witch?
Yeah, basic witches. Basic
Yeah.
witches.
Let's see here. Pulling another one up here. What did/do you think of Dear Esther and interactive movie type games in general? Have either of you played any of the older interactive video games, such as Night Trap or Dragon's Lair? Alan Del Rio asked that. This was a while ago on Facebook that he brought this up. He also mentioned like To the Moon.
Yeah.
So I think he's looking for either FMV stuff or just in general very low interactivity, adventure story-based games.
Yeah. You want to take the lead on this one? We have talked about it before.
Yeah, we have. Like, Dear Esther is our canonical example of being as far on the spectrum that we established back, I think, in the Mist episode. Just as far away from interactivity or what is game as possible. I'm a fan as long as the story is good. I think that Dear Esther hits on us on a particular aesthetic that I really enjoy, and it has a very melancholic note that speaks to me that I like in a lot of media. I can't say that I would universally like anything like that. That just puts a huge burden and strain on like, hey, can we put something interesting in front of you?
Mm-hmm.
And so, a game that is based around storytelling is probably only going to be as good as the story that it's trying to tell. Same thing goes for To the Moon, which I think is, stunning. It's a beautiful game that I would recommend people check out. Which it's impossible not to get it for free because of a bundle. It seems like it's always kind of going on sale for $1. But yeah, like it may just be the case that I've come across two really good examples of that, and that's why I say I like these things.
Yeah. I mean, there are less successful examples of that kind of thing. Like I'm kind of a defender of it, but Home is not a great game, and it's fine, but it's not perfect. And there's some things that are more interesting than anything. Like Dinner Date is interesting, but it's not phenomenal or anything like that. Dear Esther is very good, but I think that it's interesting, as somebody who's on the record as being pretty disappointed with A Machine for Pigs. Like, it's interesting that I like Dear Esther, but I don't think they're good at making things that are more interactive. I think that they are good at writing these kind of poems, mood poems, and that's where they're at. So like, Dear Esther is a game. It's far enough and still qualifies as such to me. Not that I'm like the arbiter of that, but I like it a lot. But I almost think that them playing to their strength, they should stick with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've never played To the Moon, so.
It's weird because, like you mentioned, Home not being very good, and I agree. It's like an interesting little diversion, but I think that Home especially fails if you've played Lone Survivor.
Oh yeah, Lone Survivor is much better.
Yeah. Just like they're so similar, and it may be that like I for as much as I look forward to A Machine for Pigs, I've kind of held it up to a point where like, oh, I want to be able to dedicate like 2 nights to this, and I've not had those 2 consecutive nights that I felt willing to jump in feet first. Also, I'm probably a little bit afraid of being disappointed by it, but like Home fails in the face of like having played Lone Survivor, which tries to do something very similar and succeeds a lot more than it does.
Yeah.
And I think like A Machine for Pigs probably just fails compared to Amnesia, which I think you like Amnesia, right?
Yeah, I love Amnesia.
Yeah, like that is like just a categorical success at what it's trying to do.
Yeah, it is one of the greatest horror games. And A Machine for Pigs, like as much as I was disappointed with it, it is not without merit. Like you will find things to like about it. It is. There are things to like about it. It's just disappointing. It's 2 great tastes that don't taste great together.
Yeah.
But both of which I appreciate on their own. It's interesting too, though, that you bring up, or that Ellen brings up things like older FMV games, because they're very different than like the narrative games of now. Like you look at something like Dragon's Lair versus something like Gone Home, and they both have what they have in common is a limited amount of interactivity. But Dragon's Lair ends up being like a game of memory. Like it's just like a that's what that is.
Hmm.
Trial and error and memory, and just watching a fun little like animated short. Like I played Dragon Slayer when I was young. I played like there's those Sega produced hologram games that are essentially Dragon's Lair, like, and I played Dragon's Lair on my phone and stuff. Like, I have nostalgia for that shit, but they're not. They feel very different to me than that because there is no basis on story. Like, there's no one's getting into the lore of Dragon's Lair. It's just you want to look at some cool down Bluth animation, and the same is true of most like FMV, like Sega CD style FMV games. I felt.
Yeah.
Like specifically like Night Trap, which is a weird game and kind of ambitious and neat, but not, a good story by any means.
Yeah, I'd have to double check to just do a control F on the document. I don't think anybody has recommended or requested Night Trap for Abject Suffering yet.
That'd be fun. Like I'd revisit that. I think that might end up being a secret redemption because it's such a neat idea.
Yeah.
Like Night Trap is a very cool idea that just doesn't quite work.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, most of the criticism of it that I've read has either been of the bizarreness of it, which I'm fine with, having
yeah.
not being in a position to pay money for, and also because Dana Plato, lol.
Yeah. Well, it's not like it doesn't work. Like the things it's trying to do don't work, but it's just trying to do a neat thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played that like a shit ton. Like I ended up living with a cousin who had a Sega CD for a while, which was like when I got to play Snatcher and Lunar and stuff, which was great. But also, have to play video games if they're there. So ended up spending a lot of time playing Sewer Shark and Night Trap. And Night Trap it doesn't work, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right. It totally is a reskin. Did you ever play Corpse Killer?
I'm familiar with Corpse Killer, but I never played it.
Yeah. No, it's like a Rastafarian themed zombie shooter. It's pretty
Like
great.
like Dead Island is to Resident Evil as Corpse Killer is to Night Trap.
Yeah. It's a,
Like, yeah.
God, Dead Island.
Yeah, fuck Dead Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but it does end up being a reskin. Like, Gabriel Knight 2 is, just a Gabriel Knight game that has simpler puzzles, except, a more intricate story, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a narrative focus thing,
Yeah.
like closer to like a Gone Home or a Dear Esther.
Yeah.
On that thing, like de-emphasizing. I don't think either of us have a problem with de-emphasizing mechanics. I don't like it when you spend a lot of time on mechanics that aren't fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a frustrating thing, and that has to do with my or informs my weariness, my JRPG weariness as I get older. Like you spend a lot of time on the mechanics in those games, but they're not generally very fun. But I can handle a game that doesn't have very much in the way of mechanics and emphasize the story for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the interesting you bring up Lone Survivor. I like Lone Survivor, but I also think it's a smidge too long. Like I wish that the length was somewhere between it and Home, but it had the mechanics and story of Lone Survivor.
Yeah. Definitely. It does turn into a little bit of a slog. Like there's probably like one too many levels.
Yeah.
I would say like it's got a little bit of that Resident Evil syndrome where it's like, okay, cool. I recognize that like a castle's pretty great, but like taking you from a castle to a military installation, like just don't just cut it off. Your game is good. Leave well enough alone.
Yeah. Never a strength of games.
No. I'd be curious to hear like if there are any more listeners who are hearing this, or viewers, if you have anything else that's kind of like in the vein of Dear Esther or To the Moon. I'd be interested to hear that. Hear what they are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. I feel like a lot of these questions that we're going to get are going to be very philosophical ones, like this one about the act of what we do. Chad Bailey asked, "How did you guys end up deciding you wanted to make podcasts in the first place?"
It's not. I don't know how philosophical that is. I listened to them and liked them.
Yeah.
And that was really all that there was. Like I listened to them and liked them, and I thought my friends were funny, and it would be fun. Like we could do that as well as people I listened to could.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely listening to them. And it's funny. It's always nice to get those messages or responses that say like, "Hey, your podcast and other podcasts like it." I've got. It just sounds like I'm sucking my own dick here. But like, oh, it's
you're on camera. You can make this for a show.
Demonstrate to the world.
It doesn't have to sound like you're sucking your own dick, Cole.
Oh, y'all.
Yeah.
Blowing up the double bird
Yeah. Yeah,
while making an Ouroboros. Yeah.
yep.
No, but it's it's cool to hear people say, oh, like it helps me get through work or a long drive or something because for a long time and what got me interested in this was listening to podcasts at work and eventually thinking, I probably have the means to do something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, means and ability. It is one of those weirdly democratic things where it's like, oh, I could totally be good at this, and then it ends up being a lot harder, or not as hard as you think.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that is particularly like it's as hard as you want to make it be, which is true of any hobby.
True that.
Um, yeah, and that's all there was of getting to it. Like I do a lot of stuff. Like I've got a real like I can do that attitude about stuff. And this just happened to have stuck. Like I done a bunch of been in bands for a long time, did music and like wrote a book and stuff. Not to humble brag about it because it obviously didn't go anywhere. No one knows about like nothing happened with a book I wrote. But like I do like I see stuff like that and decide I want to do it and then do it. And then podcasting worked out, because it makes sense that it worked out. Like it's not there's like the audience for this is built in kind of like tech savvy and video games are like there's such a big crossover for that. Like none of our podcasts that were not about video games. My cat's being awesome right now.
Yeah, no, I've got
being
caught on video. Yeah.
I'm glad it's being caught on camera.
He's just
none of the stuff that we did that was not about video games worked out, and it just has to do with like it's just a very popular, like it works for a podcast. Like people who play video games also listen to podcasts, and that is a nice coincidence that worked out for us.
It definitely is. I'm wondering, like, how much of that has to do with the fact that you can listen to podcasts while you play video games?
That's probably part of it, and then part of it probably has to do with like podcast being such an internet thing, and so much of internet discourse being about video games.
Yeah.
Like, the internet for a lot of people, and for me when I was younger, was like pretty much just about video games. Like,
yeah.
So.
One of the first like searches I remember doing was to pull up like a Final Fantasy II like fan page that had animated GIFs and MIDIs on it, and it blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to print like search for reviews of games I might be interested in and print them out so I could read them at work and on the toilet when I was young. That was a good use of paper, but that was what I used to do.
That's pretty good.
So
does Rose like Shadow of the Colossus you when you're not on camera, or does he just know?
No, he does that when he wants to be fed.
Oh.
Or like sometimes he just does it when he's affectionate, but he would like to eat, I think. But it's still a little bit early.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cute though. He's got this new chair that I have. Like he's not. The back of it is significantly more narrow, so it takes more of his concentration to balance on it. So he'll get up there sometimes and get stuck and just kind of whine, or he'll get up there and he has to lean into me to stay balanced. And it's very cute.
Here he comes again.
Yeah, you're being cute, buddy. Good boy. Yeah, I've been gone away from him because I was traveled for a week and then was gone for a long weekend. So it was definitely a nice reunion between me and this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, listen to him go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Let me see. Picking up this one, I feel weird asking myself this question, but Cole, what's your favorite Ockerville River song, and why is it John Allen Smith Sales?
It's a funny question. Like when I read that, I'm like, that's a funny way to phrase that.
I think that this is Mike Verano. I think Mike has an opinion about Ockerville River songs.
Well, he knows the title by so he definitely does. He knows a song at least.
It's hard to pick, just like with any like thing that you really like or any band or whatever. I could probably pick I couldn't even name a favorite album, and people are rapidly approaching being not interested in this. I'd have to say For Real, which was like the first one that I listened to by them, and it kind of what got me into them. They're just like like any band that's been around for any amount of time. They are kind of like 5 different bands in one over the course of their history. And so, their later stuff sounds like a different band than, what they started out with, which was mostly like mandolin and acoustic guitar and stuff. John Allen Smith Sells is great. Like that whole album, that the stage names is really good, even if the follow-up wasn't that great, because, a concept album about like what does stardom mean, just I can't really relate to that.
Yeah, and go fuck yourself for making that album a little bit.
Yeah.
I really can't relate to that. Like I understand that it's a problem for for people, from
Hmm.
time to time, but it is a weird thing to write a concept album about. I feel
Yeah.
like that's a trap that like lots of artists get into.
Hmm.
Like, just and I've never found myself to care too much about it.
Yeah. Which it's like nice that they backed off of that, and immediately after the stage name stand-ins, which you can see the posters behind me here, they just went on to make like, oh, what's the weirdest overproduced music we could make, and then let's just make a very like personal album about our hometown in the '80s.
Mm.
But yes, like stage names is fantastic because it has like what was it? Oh gosh, plus ones
Yeah,
where
that song's real good.
yeah, every lyric is a reference to a song with a number in it. But yeah, John Allen Smith Sells is great because that's the one that ends with just a straight up cover of Sloop John B. Except
Mhm.
it's about John Berryman killing himself, which is cool. I
Yeah,
suppose. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's a good band. I'm
yeah,
not an Uber fan, but I like them.
yeah. And listening to this actually makes me realize and mortified. Do you still have that Guided by Voices mix?
Yeah, I don't think it's left the Dropbox.
Oh, okay, cool. So I can just go in and
Possibly could have evolved. Like they've Guy by Voices have put out like 6 albums since I did that, so I could
okay,
add things to it more
yeah.
than likely.
So
Uh,
I will issue a public statement of contrition that I'm very sorry that I hadn't checked that out a
it's
year ago.
okay. Yeah, they don't care. Yeah,
No, to you, you took
yeah.
time to
No,
assemble
yeah.
that. You're
Me,
very
me and
kind.
Cole made each other mixes, and Gary put his on his iPhone, which I'm looking at right now. I put the one that Cole made, and Cole left the one that Gary made to languish in Dropbox hell, where
Yeah.
mixes go to die.
Cool.
There's at least like 2 songs I would like. I almost would rather like add 2 songs to it because the last couple albums that they have not been great, but the singles on them have been phenomenal. Like it's this weird like, and they don't get radio play. I don't know why they're putting so much like effort into having one just amazing song on these albums.
Mhm.
But their last 2 singles from the last 2 albums are really really good. Um, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
They also like teamed up with like funny people now. Like they do like their videos are on Funny or Die, and they all have Rob Corddry in them for some reason. Like Rob Corddry is in all of their videos, and all these improv actors. Like Badger is in one
really
because he's a UCB like improv guy. Like he's from the
yeah,
world of comedy. So
badass.
yeah, he's in the video for Planet Score is the name of the song.
Huh.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Go like just if you would like to go ahead and slap those two in, and I will dive into it
yeah,
and hold me to account on that.
will do.
Yeah. Speaking of holding to account, that thing I'm gonna send you is going out tomorrow. So
That thing. Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Did you get that
Yeah.
thing I said?
You don't have to say what it is because it's not interesting. It's also not a secret though.
Yeah.
What I think it is. Like the way you said it made it sound. I was trying to think of something more scandalous than what it actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not scandalous.
Oh, I like being mysterious though.
I'm gonna
Okay.
sell Cole's underwear to living statues in Pioneer Square. So that's that's the secret.
Okay. Yeah, it's a public art installation. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get a would you rather from Brad Carey. Would you rather drink a smoothie of the best food you've ever had blended with the worst drink you've ever had, or drink a smoothie of the worst food you've ever had blended with the best drink you've ever had?
Hmm. So I think we have to define our terms for that.
Yeah.
Cole, what's the best food you've ever had and the worst drink? And let's figure out what that smoothie would be.
Okay, so the best food I've ever had, there's a restaurant here in Cincinnati that is called, I believe it's called Boca. And I had probably the most delicious like cheese-filled pasta that I can't even I can't even recall like what it was called. But that meal combined with just all the accoutrement that went with it, and a slice of a coworker's beef Wellington. Yeah, let's take all that. Let's take that whole meal, and blend it in. So bad drinks are really hard to come by. Bad drinks. I think the worst thing I've ever had is like just a mouthful of sour milk. So yeah,
Oh, I was thinking alcoholic drink, but that's interesting too.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, worst drink. Okay, so a bunch of rich, like meat, cheesy pasta,
yeah.
sour milk, smoothie.
Yep.
Okay, so that's your one choice.
Mm-hmm.
So best food, it's hard for me to think of best food because there's lots of foods I like. I'm gonna go ahead and just throw in, for lack of anything better, Pok Pok chicken wings because I adore them.
Oh, we had that when
So,
I was out
yeah,
there, right? Yeah.
yep. I
Yeah.
think those are very high quality chicken wings.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna put those as best food, even though if it's not the best food ever, right? It might not be, but whatever. And then worst drink. There's a Dayquil that I'm using right now, a generic Dayquil that tastes really really gross. That has like a real like stick to your ribs kind of sourness. So I'm gonna say this like specific kind of daytime flu medicine.
Mm.
That is my most recent daytime flu medicine I've drank.
So,
So
so
Thai spicy Thai wings and daytime flu medicine. Is
oh,
that smoothie? All right. So and then opposite, Cole. What worst food you've ever had, and then best drink.
I can't even say. Oh, mm, I don't even know like worst food, like worst like lowest quality, worst just like tasted bad.
I think worst tasting is probably what we're going for because we're trying to make a smoothie that has shades of gray to it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's say like the worst food I've ever had. Let's go with a roast beef sandwich from Rax.
What's the story with this roast beef sandwich?
Really just offensively bland and bad. I don't
Okay.
know. Like it's hard to think like yeah, the actual the actual food itself. So
Yeah.
let's just go with like just offensively bad.
Yeah. Like low quality food.
Yeah. So Rax used to be around. It was a Midwestern like roast beef sandwich chain that was known for its salad bar. For me personally, it is known as the restaurant where my mom had a seizure.
No.
So that might actually
Like a beef Caesar or just a regular Caesar?
she had a beef sure.
Getting the beef C's.
Yeah.
Okay. And then best drink.
Best drink. Let's go with it is a Dogfish Head beer. It is the Palo Santo Marron.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got this roast beef sandwich blended up into that beer.
Yes.
So your choice is beef Wellington and cheese pasta
Hmm.
blended into sour milk, or that bland roast beef sandwich blended up into beer. I think the choice is clear, but which
Oh
one?
yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the worst drink that I've ever had is far worse than the worst food I've ever had.
Yeah. Sour milk is pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So worst food. Um, it's hard. Like I've had like a couple like bad like tuna fish that didn't taste good. Those kind of off experiences, and that's real bad. Like a fishy tuna fish.
Like on the bubble.
Yeah, yeah. I'll throw one of those up there for that. Like it may again, maybe not the worst, but close enough. And then best drink would probably be like some kind of like milkshake. Like in my hometown, there's a place called Ollie's that does frozen custard, and
Oh
they
shit.
do malts. So like an Ollie's chocolate frozen custard malt is probably up there. So bad
Nice.
tuna and a malt, or good chicken wings and like shitty Dayquil. I'm going bad tuna and a malt. Like I feel like that malt is going to be sugary enough to cover up almost anything. Like it would give me a stomach ache like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But I bet you I could get like I could down it.
It's weird because you're aggressively courting food poisoning for that, especially since it's canned, so it's probably botulism.
Yeah,
I think that's a more substantial roll of the dice than you think it is.
it probably. Well, I mean, I did it once. Like it's the worst food I ever ate and lived. It's not the worst food I ever ate and died.
Okay, so if you could go back and
Yeah.
like Dark Tower your way into that particular instance of that too.
Yeah. Exactly. It had to be the exact same chicken, and it had the exact same constitution.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Um, or not chicken, chicken of the sea.
Yeah.
But
Huh. So I'm trying to think of like the worst alcoholic drink. That's really hard because like beer doesn't like like oh I've had some bad beer in my life. Like I've had like Schlitz and Strohs and
yeah,
stuff.
cheap beer is fine though.
Yeah, but that's just like that's kind of like that Rax sandwich.
Yeah.
I did once at a friend's house in college mix together, I believe, some kind of let's say licorice liqueur with a watermelon liqueur, and what
Hmm.
I produced tasted exactly like children's amoxicillin.
That's gross.
Yeah, pretty bad.
I've definitely done a bunch of dumb drink things, like just mixed liquors together because I thought I was blazing a trail. Like one of the guys I drink with first, he was a guy I was in a band with. He We did some kind of drinking game where you could make other people do shots of drinks, but he didn't have appropriate drinks for it. So it was like, do this shot of dry vermouth, do this shot of triple sec. Like it made no sense. It was so disgusting. Like here, throw this some bitters in this triple sec. Like it's so fucking stupid, and that was really gross. Those all things.
So you know how they have those like progressive dinners where you have like breadsticks at somebody's house and you've got I don't know why I keep going back to canapes at somebody else's house. Like you go around a neighborhood and you just have a meal at the course of several different people's houses. What you're proposing is some kind of progressive cocktail.
Like you make it in your stomach.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never heard of that for dinner, but that sounds delightful and better than this. Actually, I've also had. Oh man, did I lose it? Fuck. I remembered a gross liquor thing that I've done. Oh, when I was on the East Coast, we were trying Moxie because we wanted to try an unusual soda, and it was super disgusting. But we wanted to get drunk, so we mixed it with Seagrams and made Moxiegrams, and that's disgusting because Moxie's disgusting. Don't drink Moxie.
Is Moxie an especially pungent root beer? Is that?
No, I wish. It's hard to describe what Moxie is. It's its own thing. Like it's a medicine-y kind of almost cola, like medicine-y cola kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Like a tonic.
Yeah.
Like tonic water. Yeah. No, I've been in love with that from afar because of its name. That's a pretty good name for a.
Yeah. And somehow better than Pepsi, which like means the same thing.
Really?
Like remember, like something is pep,
Oh, it's got pep. Yeah.
Yeah, Pepsi, Moxie, like it's similar. Not to mean the same thing, but same kind of naming conventions.
Similar construction. Yeah. Huh. I don't know. Should I dip into the last question?
Yeah. If anybody's watching, this one might be one for the tapes. Just because
because of the multiple concurrences around this. Also, summer is slow too.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah. Let's jump into this. Trent Amond asks, my will to be creative and productive has taken a serious turn for the worse lately. How do you guys stay motivated to keep pumping out content for the podcasts?
No. Like ego bucks, and it's fun to do.
Yeah. Precedence is another thing. Again, all of those, it's fun to do, and also making things feels good. But like it's similar to you have a lifetime to make your first album, but 6 months to do the second. And so like that existing deadline for all these things, knowing that there are people counting on it, which we could just go away and be like, oh, we're going to be gone. Like often happens with those Jam Ross kids for life-related reasons, because Chris doesn't live his life around these things like we do to a certain extent. He's a grown-ass man with kids and stuff. But yeah, just the idea that like, oh, it feels good to do this on a regular schedule, and I feel like that's why Hexcrank kind of suffers, is because it doesn't have that kind of established people are going to really whine about it.
Yeah.
People are going to notice if it goes away. Right.
Yeah. And the nice thing about like Bonfire Side Chat is very popular, so it's fun to do that. For that reason, because it's fun to talk about, to provide that, because it's not a thing that exists for Dark Souls, and it supports it. And then Watch Out for Fireballs keeps us playing games that are interesting to talk about. So like, whereas I might succumb to some kind of dreaded MMO addiction or just end up playing random what's its head, it kind of organizes that part of my life in a cool way that I like, even though that is a double-edged sword too, because then you don't have as much time to play stuff you do that's just randos that you want to play.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of nice. Like when we do the planning, it's nice to be like, oh, I've got this to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually like dipping in and looking at like the coming couple months and getting like real jazzed. Yeah. I think we're gonna do the next poll like during like one of the next live shows as well.
Okay.
Yeah. depending on how it shakes out. But yeah, I think that's there. Like it helps with this because this turns something that we otherwise would do for fun, namely playing the games, which is probably the most time consuming, or like the neck and neck for the most time consuming part of this, into something that is ostensibly like productive, right?
Yeah.
So it removes some of the guilt around something we otherwise would want to do anyway. That said, I can't speak for what you would do. Like if your pursuit isn't directly related to playing games and then talking about them.
Yeah, I mean, it's all basic. I mean, I feel like motivation for me, like for anything that I do, it just comes to like yeah, like figure out some kind of schedule. When you have time, make a list of things that you want to do during that time, and then just kind of do them. So like today, like I rolled out of bed whenever I rolled out of bed, and I did a little socializing. But then it's like, okay, today I need to watch a movie for school and do my Infinity Engineers blog and write another thing. So that's what I have to do. I forgot about the live stream, which is fine because I'll stay up late because I always do to get the rest of that stuff done. But I just know I need to do that stuff, and it's all stuff I want to do. It's all stuff that's fun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of no problem. Like I just kind of do it. So you should. I think that like to that end, make sure the stuff that you're doing is stuff you want to do.
Yeah.
Like if you're not having fun doing it, don't do it.
Mhm.
Like it's really hard to get paid for things. Neither of us make our living at this stuff. Like it pays for itself, thank goodness, and like slightly more, allowing us to get better. But it's not, it's not a job. So if we didn't, I like to think that if we didn't like doing it, we wouldn't do it. Like that's probably the main reason.
Yeah.
Like inertia is a thing and ego bucks are a thing. But like if we didn't like doing it, it'd be stupid to keep doing it.
For sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and like the making the list is good, but just kind of like what you laid out there, I feel is so important, which is like having multiple things. Like it's really easy to get like to fall into productive procrastination,
yeah.
which is like, oh, I know there's this like big thing that I want to do, but I'm gonna be over here tagging my MP3s, or like for me, cleaning is a big one because like I never feel bad about pacing around the apartment and picking stuff up. But like having multiple constructive things and being kind of ruthless, or at the very least very canny about recognizing when you're in the zone for a particular thing. Because if you just have like this one monolithic thing in front of you that you need to work on, god damn it, recognizing that stuff is going to come up, and sometimes a lot of the time you're just not going to feel like doing it. But then if you don't do it or do something else, you have a lot of guilt around it. Like have something equally as productive or something else that you like, that is of a different, focus or difficulty level that you can like jump to without feeling bad, because the second guilt gets wrapped up into it, beyond, just kind of like, oh, if we miss this episode, people are going to be real upset. If it's self-imposed guilt, then all of a sudden the fun just goes out.
Yeah, you're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also there's also something too, just like sitting down and working on something too. Like
Mhm.
you can kind of wait until you feel like it, but you'll find like that you will grow to feel like it partway through. I think
Yeah.
once you start working on stuff a lot of the time. I'm like that a lot with writing. Like like it doesn't feel good to write, but it feels good to having written.
Yep.
And the once you get that end in sight and something comes together, that's the really good feeling. It doesn't feel good to sit down and stare at a blank page,
Mhm.
but you do it anyway. To get to that second feeling. So there's like a little bit of that delayed reward. There's also like for me, like I like to break things up into days. So if I just have a huge project that's going to take more than one day, just knowing about that doesn't help anything. But if I'm like, I'm going to do this part of this today, then that's very easy for me. So just like kind of having, and then once I get that done, then I'm like, okay, well at that point I can do whatever I want because I've done this productive thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of becomes this like a nice little flow of reward.
Mhm.
On it.
Yeah, for sure. That's it's the homework strategy, right?
Yeah. Once you do your homework, you can watch TV.
Yeah.
And in this case, even if your homework is like playing games, like once you play your games, you can play your games.
Mhm.
Or once you write your thing, you can write your thing.
Yeah. It's hard for me not to talk about GTD in this context, and I know that it literally causes Gary psychic pain when I mention that, but that is like that breaking
more.
But just the very act of like going in and planning it, because the way that we naturally plan things a lot of the time, or the way we attempt to plan things is not quite the natural way. What Gary just laid out is like just the common sense way that GTD encourages you to do it. And I think that even just the act of laying it out like that will give you it'll help clarify what that loose thread is that you can pull at. It's just about making correct easy, right? Like I want to make the right thing the easiest thing to do at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard though. It really is, especially if you start like my huge problem with writing is self-editing a lot of the
Oh,
time, and it's hard because I write a lot for work, so it takes me a lot longer, I think, than other people. But I will get halfway through a sentence and start thinking about how I can improve the first half of that sentence
mm,
before I finish it out, and it causes a lot of it to turn inward. So that's a real problem for me in writing that I don't have in speech, where I can just get in the middle of a sentence and it can go on and on forever.
yeah. Well, there's Kurt Vonnegut taught a writing workshop in Iowa, the Iowa master's degree writing program, which is really famous and great. And he had a thing where like there are two kinds of writers, which are like swoopers and pounders.
Mm-hmm.
And pounders sit down and make sure they have every word in every sentence right, and then move on. And then swoopers make a draft and then go over it and then go over it and then go over it. And like I'm definitely a swooper, and the reason why I like it, I'm not saying it's qualitatively better, but it means that if something, I can gauge the importance of something or gauge a deadline to not do like a final swoop. Like if I get something to 90% and it just has to be done, and this is more for school, like I try not to half-ass personal stuff, but like this isn't the best thing I could ever write, but it has to be done. Then I just don't do another swoop, but I have a thing on the page. Whereas if I had written 80% of something perfectly and then just like I can't end it because I'm taking all this time like placing every word correctly, that's harder for me. Like I like having a thing done, and then you have the thing, you can alter it, you can change it, but you have a version of it done, and it helps you kind of like see the larger organization of it, and
Mm-hmm.
different parts can inform, like the end can inform the beginning, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a great behavior, and it's one that I attempt to emulate, just because I forget who said it, but it's like write with reckless abandon and edit with laser-like precision, or something like
Yeah.
that. I forget who said that, and oftentimes because a lot of what I write for work is scripts about tech products. My first draft, if I'm having trouble, is just going to be, so your shit's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll just be just as strident, or as just kind of like, I'm going to write this to be funny as possible, and then go back in and take out the so your shit's fucked, and
Right.
turn it into something acceptable, and then just laugh and laugh and laugh when some of it stays in, and the client loves it.
Yeah. Do you try to do like I like free writing stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I do that for class, and it seems like a dumb exercise, but it does help. Where like if you're just sitting there like, I'm just gonna write for 5 minutes and not let my pen leave the paper, like you're never gonna get anything worthwhile, but you might get a nugget of something worthwhile to build off of, which is kind of fun.
That's one of those things that, like a lot of stuff like math, school ruined for,
Mm,
for
yeah.
me. Like I totally see the value in it, and like running those exercises, like I get it, and I've enjoyed it when I've done it, but like, okay, let's sit down and free write. It's almost like how journaling was ruined. Like,
Yeah, go fuck yourself if someone asks you to do that. Like, it is hard not to resent that. It's so stupid.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it genuinely, like, if maybe, what I've found is if I'm not imposing it on myself, like I'll do that when I'm writing, like, a game review thing. Like, I will do, like, just write down what is the first thing that I have to say about the game,
Mhm.
and not worry about an intro or outro or organizing points, Like, what's
Yeah.
noteworthy about this? What's the reason why I want to write about this? And then
Mhm.
just kind of go with that for a little while. And then you can kind of build out from the middle.
Yeah. What's
Um,
funny is you're describing my outlining process,
hmm,
actually,
no,
which is to open up Scrivener or BB Edit or something like that, and then just think in bullet points around
yeah,
that, and then just organize them later. I do the same thing with index cards sometimes. So it's less about getting specific phraseology, and it's more like, what is like top of mind really important to me about this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And regardless of whatever you're doing, like I think if it is for any kind of personal project, you need to, and this is cliche, dumb advice that everyone knows, but start with and focus on the stuff that's important to you. Like I guess that's going back to the point you already made. But if you don't give a shit about the stuff you're doing, you're not gonna. No one else is, and you're not gonna continue to give a shit about it. Which is why education is so fucked in so many ways, because that's not something that's emphasized. But only good work can only come from caring about it. I think. I don't think that you can do good work in a mercenary fashion. Really, I think it always comes through. So like you need to find like the nugget of the thing that you're interested in it for it to make any sense.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing that I'll say, just as long as this turns into this is just
Or just real quick, when I said you couldn't do good work in a mercenary fashion, I wasn't slamming your job. I didn't mean you were doing.
No, I didn't read
totally not what I meant. I just I'm sure that you are finding the thing about the stuff that is interesting to you, or at least the angle you want to take that's interesting.
Oh, so for sure.
When I say mercenary, I don't mean that it can't be for commercial means. I just mean that you can't focus on something that you don't care about.
Yeah, sure. I definitely I appreciate you jumping in that. I didn't read that into it at all. Yeah. No, it's very much, it very much is. Like, and that's just, without going too far into my job, that's when it becomes like a real slog. Like, we call those zombie projects where you approach it and, just it's something that we do because, at any given time we're working on 20 different things. Like when you approach a new client video or a new job, it's always with like, I want to find the best in this because I want the next 8 to 12 weeks to be as fun as possible.
Yeah.
The hardest part about that is when the angle that you want to take, or what you feel is the right story or the correct story, kind of gets shot down, and it's taken more towards that creative inertial point, like that lowest common denominator against which everything falls, which is the majority of what you see in a lot of these explainer tech videos. Here's why your life sucks, and here's why
wouldn't it be great if you could do that work from home?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you hate not being able to get emails on the beach?
Precisely. And then you just at the end of the video you have like, oh, you're on the beach and there's stacks of money right there and everything is real gross.
Yeah, because you got an email on the beach.
Yep, pretty much.
You're one step closer to death.
Yep.
You're a little bit older, and you spend some time reading an email for work.
Yeah.
And not looking at a beach.
Yeah. So there's an angle on most of those stories, even if it is, mercenary, where you can have fun with it, or where you can wrap this up in such a way that like, I don't really care so much about what we're saying about your product, but the way in which we're saying it is new and exciting.
Yeah. It's the same way when you get like actors that do kind of garbage movies, but you can tell they're having fun.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like I don't know, Harvey Keitel totally believes in bad lieutenant, port of call or whatever, or Nicolas Cage rather, like who totally believes in it. Like he's just having fun being there, and that's fun to watch, and he's finding his own value in it, which is a grander life lesson. That's what you need to do in every situation.
For sure. Yeah, no, I call that the Cannonball Run effect.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And a keg of beer, and
he's having fun.
Yeah, I felt that way. I initially really hated what was that? Not The World's End, the other one that came out around that same time.
This is the end.
This is the end. I initially hated that because I went into it not knowing that that's exactly what that was.
Yeah.
And on subsequent watchings, it really comes through as as like, okay, I can pick it up. I'm feeling the fun in the room.
Yeah.
But just looking at it as a straight comedy, it fell short for me.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was going before I defended the way I make my money was just again general creative advice. Reading about doing a thing isn't doing a thing.
Yeah. And planning to do a thing isn't necessarily doing a thing either. Like it is up to a certain step, but you can get into a real trap with that kind of thing too. Like I think you tweeted it, Cole, where you're saying like looking up new productivity apps is not being productive or something like that. Yeah. And it's definitely true. Like it's not, and again, I don't mean that as a dig on you and your people, your culture. I just mean that it's like at some point you have to draw a line. Mm-hmm. You don't actually do something and get something on the page, or nothing's going to happen. And there's a balance to that. Like I would say that being self-reflective, like what I am bad at is I could stand to do more planning, and I could also stand to do more editing in almost everything I do. Like I'm not always the best at getting something polished. Like that's not really my thing. Mm-hmm. I'm the best at. Like I'm usually in a hurry to move on to the next thing or get something out, which isn't great. But you can also go too far in the other direction for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The specific tweet that you're referring to the sentiment is often repeated, but it's actually pinned to the top of Merlin Mann's Twitter. Again, saying Merlin Mann causes Gary psychic pain. It's joining a Facebook group about creative productivity is like buying a chair about running.
Oh, yeah.
Some along those things. On the converse of that, I almost feel like specifically for writing or for a lot of other things, like consuming good stuff to a certain degree is like a really kind of like high calorie version of that. Like you don't want to do a lot, but reading is a really important part of writing. So if that's what you're doing, like don't stop consuming stuff. Don't like flagellate yourself by starving yourself.
Yeah.
Like don't starve yourself of good stuff just because you can't make something good of your own, right?
Yeah, you can tell, like, when you read something, you can tell if it's written by someone who doesn't read. Like this is written by someone who doesn't really read, and like that's so obvious. But I also like I think it's hard to, or at least just, and this is my own insecurities coming out, where I can't say like, you need to be reading everything all the time, because I just don't have time for that. So I do try to read, and I do try to be like literate. And since like a lot of the stuff I write about and we talk about in game stuff is game things, so I will read about games and try to play a lot of games to get that kind of vocabulary for it. And I read novels as well, but you can't do everything either. So like finding that balance is very hard and personal.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like blaming stuff on your taxes. You can find a way to to make it relevant. You just have to kind of go into it with I just about said the douchiest thing, which is a hunter's eye, like looking for neat things that you can not so much appropriate, but just kind of like like you can learn from. Right?
Yeah, one of my favorite things when I started wanting to write like horror stuff and run horror tabletop games was I bought a few encyclopedias of monsters. And then that's like the best, because the writing style is not enough to actually influence you stylistically, but it's just like pure distilled idea. Like here's this monster that does this. This is its gimmick. This is its origin. It ties into folklore this way, and like you just kind of synthesize that stuff and extrapolate and move on. And it's just like really like a rich vein for it. So.
Yeah, that's really good. Like that's part of the reason why I like monster manuals, like D&D books so much.
Yeah. Like those are just it's super evocative, and then they also have the imagery as well. Like you could do, if you are designing, like let's say you are making a game, you could do way worse than to like just flip through the second edition monster manual, like before you design your creatures, because you're gonna get inspired by it. Like it's such a good book. It's my favorite novel. You can say without exaggeration, it's the best novel of the 21st century. Monster Manual second edition, 20th century.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So we had another question pop in.
Hey guys.
Hey, yeah. Keep them coming. Kindle this flame. Kindle this flame. Mike Ferrano asks, on the topic of reading, favorite novels?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite novel?
That's hard. Canonically, I'm going to say House of Leaves, just because of the stuff that it does with like metafiction and things like that. If I'm allowed to take something as a whole, let's say the entire Dark Tower, and if we're looking for something not as stereotypical, the other one I say is Confederacy of Dunces, is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. # good books.
Sorry, didn't mean to scattershot. It was like
okay.
the Ockerville River thing. Like if you read, how can you like
Yeah, you don't pick a book.
I mean, it's annoying. Like we've probably talked about this before, but like when somebody who doesn't play games is trying to engage you in casual conversation, the bastards for trying to do that. Fucking casuals, basic witches. They try and say, you play games. I've heard about this at work. What's your favorite?
Yeah.
And then you say Zelda and move on.
Yeah, you're like something like
That's the high fidelity problem. Like, okay, do you want like of this decade, of this genre, whatever? Right. And then they just leave because they tried. Damn it.
They didn't want to go into that.
Yeah.
And really, like if you do come back with what genre and what decade, you're being a dick, because they're
for sure.
Like conversation.
But we all have a dick inside of us.
Yeah, and outside of us.
Yeah.
If you still got a dick inside you, you need to head to your pediatrician, Cole. Just dropped because. I would probably, I'm gonna go with slapstick, I think.
Hmm.
The Kurt Vonnegut book. It's probably my favorite book.
Yeah.
Um, so, no, I mean there are lots of books I like,
Yeah.
but that's probably up there as far as just being influential to me, idea-wise and resonant emotionally with me.
Yeah. Yeah. You have the good taste not to just blurt them
I
all out.
got two of it, so
Oh,
I got two from it. So yeah, yeah,
yeah. I feel really bad because I'm not currently reading anything. And normally I at the very least have a novel going, um,
yeah,
which is a bummer.
yeah.
I
I
feel like
wouldn't be
e-readers
if it
kind of
wasn't
killed
for
me on
school.
that. Oh, good.
Say what?
I feel like e-readers kind of killed me on that.
Oh yeah,
Not having the actual artifact like sitting next to the bed or in a book as a constant reminder when it's just an app on a thing.
yeah.
I'm starting to really just kind of want to swing back in the other direction because for as much as I like the convenience, that convenience is steamrolled any possible value I might get.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, both can be super useful. It's super annoying to have to reference back to things in an e-reader book if you have any reason to do so.
Yeah.
And I'm only like currently consistently reading because of school. I usually will have a like something I'm reading, try to, but things will drop down. Like I've been working my way through Harlan Ellison short stories for like a year and a half, and I've
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of collections of them, so I'll pick that up every once in a while. But I've just been reading for this science fiction class, so I just wrapped up that fucking 2312 book, and I'm about to start Among Others, which I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Um,
How's that film noir class going?
Good. I didn't want to say it to like humble brag you, but I ended up watching Twin Peaks last week, and I'm watching Blue Velvet tonight.
Hmm.
So for class, I have to
Twin,
write
Twin,
about it.
Twin Peaks, like which?
First season actually, which was too much, viewing to assign in a week.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually finish it. I've been watching it.
Hmm.
Just I watched enough of it to fake it to write about it, and then I've just been watching it recreationally because I like it.
Yeah.
I first watched that when I was young, like too young to really get it, and
Hmm.
now that I'm older, I like it a lot more.
Yeah.
I forgot how funny it is. Like it is a funny TV show. It is a comedy.
Hmm.
But it's just very, and it's also just very arresting. Like the performances are very arresting.
Yeah.
When I first watched it, I remember it kind of falling apart and not liking how it ended very
Hmm.
much. But the first season's really good.
Yeah.
Um,
You could do worse than to stop after they reveal the killer.
yeah,
Which, if you don't have to watch beyond that, I would recommend you not.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, the villain they introduce is okay, but it's just a little bit. It's not as great. It's not as arresting. They really kind of fire the cannon indoors on that.
yeah.
Yeah. Is this going to be the first time you've watched Blue Velvet?
No, it was a similar thing though. I watched it when I was like a teen, so
Mm.
it'd be the first time I watched it with any kind of modern sensibility.
Yeah.
We're watching Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive after that, both of which I've seen more recently and didn't like very much. But
Mm.
I'm hoping that this class, as an appreciation class, will teach me, what there is to like about it, even if it doesn't end up being my favorite thing.
Yeah. Lost Highway is one of the worst movies you're ever going to watch on the first go, and then it becomes
Yeah,
good second.
yeah.
So yeah. And then
I did not enjoy it the first time around,
yeah.
so
And
I got bored.
yeah, it is pretty boring. Mulholland Drive, I like that a lot better. It helps if you go into it kind of knowing that it is a failed pilot for a TV show he would have made,
Hmm.
and then watching for the point after which they ran out of stuff that they filmed for the television show, and then decided, okay, we can make this an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of helps it out. And then for God's sakes, never watch Inland Empire if they force you to watch it.
No,
Look it
they
up.
don't. Like it's not. Those are the last things. I'm almost done with school. I've got a month between when school ends and school starts where I'm just working a paltry amount of hours a week, and I'm gonna get so much shit done. It's gonna be rad. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to it. So,
cool.
hmm
Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's about it.
term going by quick.
Yeah.
Let's here's a thing. Let's
Hmm.
talk about because somebody last episode was like rant about whatever the fuck you want. I didn't think about this. Let's talk about Cards Against Humanity and that guy
Okay.
because that's in the news.
Okay.
And
So can you outline like what like why that's in the news? Like what's the deal with that?
yes, so the guy who made the game, somebody came out and claimed that he sexually assaulted her back when they were in college. Um, which and then he, so it came out on Twitter. There was kind of a long pause, and then he wrote a blog entry about it that's fairly problematic. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's really easy to kind of pick apart. There's a couple of like weird, kind of gross veiled threats in it. Like there's like a, my lawyer agrees I could sue you for libel, this person for libel, but I don't want to, and stuff like that. Like, it's kind of gross. And then he's getting off with it more or less like scot-free in the public eye, I feel like, because he's thought of generally as a good guy, and it's more or less kind of been dropped. Like there's been a couple of like think piece things that have been written, but it's interesting because it's somebody who is considered to be a progressive, good person and somebody who people really like.
Mm-hmm.
Like games industry people really like this dude, and then he got accused of this thing, and there's been a lot of interesting conversation about like, does it matter if he did it? Like is that really the point of this? Like, so.
Is that really the point? Like that? Like, does it matter for playing the game, or does it matter?
Yeah, both. Like, does it matter ethically, and also does it matter? Like his response is still kind of gross and harmful anyway, and whether he, there's such a shockingly few, small number of like rape accusations that are false. That almost never happens. It's something like 3 to 5%. So something probably happened of some kind, and he just really biffed it on the apology, and it's become a pet thing for me just because like I've met this dude before. I've said that before. Like he's friends of a friend, and he's a nice guy, but he also like I don't know. I don't want to talk shit. Like he's fine. He was a nice dude, but it's just interesting to me to watch him. Like it does feel like it's getting swept under the rug in a weird way that I think is kind of gross. And he just kind of like he wrote this response and then stopped worrying about it. And it's also interesting too because like it's definitely impacts your life, and it he's close friends of a friend of mine, and I've watched her like deal with this like thing. It's just interesting. It's an interesting thing to talk about and think about.
Yeah, I just like public isn't the way to do that. I don't feel.
Yeah.
Even if the accusation was public, I can't say how I would play that.
Yeah.
Nobody can because that is it's a terrible situation to be in, and if it is not true, you saying anything out loud isn't going to help it. If it is true, at the worst, you're apologizing or trying to defend a horrendous act. Like seems like the only way to win is not to play, which is to say, dealing with this privately or something like that, because I don't know, like your hand is being forced in such a way that you can't, like there's no way out. Really.
Yeah. There's no win. That's definitely true, and I don't envy the dude.
Yeah.
Like like I don't think he handled it well. It's still a super shitty situation. Yeah, like it's kind of amazingly so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, did people come out in his defense? Like that kind of seems like it'd be a hobby horse that the MRAs would hop on.
Like that definitely happened, even though there are mixed feelings because he apologized. He's like, if he does a lot of couched apologies in his thing, and they're just like, this guy got falsely accused and apologized. What an asshole. So the MRA people don't really like him, and then some geek and game culture people like have shown a lot of support for him as well because he's just friends with like a lot of those people.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. Like you now have this person who is generally, and somebody wrote a really good response about it where they were saying like, the scary thing about this is that a lot of people who do it don't seem like assholes or monsters. Like people are good people probably do. And this was so long ago. Like it doesn't necessarily mean he is still a shithead, but like, and I don't know what that means. How you should respond to it in that case.
Yeah.
If he wanted to be like, yes, I did that. I'm not that way now. What would have been the correct way to express that? But it's just interesting. It's an interesting situation.
Yeah, for sure. That falls into the broader conversation. I don't know if it's broader or whatever, but like, do you feel comfortable like buying Orson Scott Card's books? Because like does a person's like can you enjoy somebody's work knowing something bad that they've done?
Right. And it's a weird thing for me because like big fan of H.P. Lovecraft. He's a monster, and yet like I stopped going to PAX this year. Like this had the opportunity to go, would have been fun. Like previous times I've gone was the most fun I've had with my friends, but decided not to go because those guys are assholes. So it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. And the other thing, and this is a smaller topic because obviously, but in a way that's more comfortable. Even if he wasn't accused of this thing, I hate that fucking game. So
Like if somebody if somebody's had that and apples to apples in front of me, like neither case is ideal. I'd
yeah,
prefer apples to apples because at least that has room for subtlety and innuendo.
yeah, and it's at least it's a little less like mean spirited and like I don't know. Like it's not like it, and it's so hard to express that thought because like I like dark humor
Hmm.
and I will say inappropriate things. Like I was talking about Cole going to the pediatrician to get his dick dropped earlier. like but just like the idea, like it's so frustrating. Not frustrating, but it just seems like it's a bad. Like it's a way of fooling people into thinking they're doing improv.
Yeah.
Like there's not you're not really making jokes when you're playing Cards Against Humanity. Like you're, you know, just putting jokes that someone else has made together. And it just so cheaply ironic and I don't know. I really can't stand that game.
Yeah.
So that's what I would have ranted about last time when we did this before the accusations came out. And then now, I feel like I can't even complain about it being a shitty game because that's missing the point. But it is both a troubling issue and also I hate that game.
I saw your tweet about that, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
Man, that's
Well, Riff had the best response to that, where he's like, "Here's how to make Cards Against Humanity fun: throw out the white cards, give everyone a piece of paper and a pencil, and then throw out the black cards," which is very funny.
yeah, definitely. Like, I don't know. At least Apples to Apples only has one Hitler card.
Yeah, and it's not as much about like I just that shock value thing. Like if I was a better artist, like in my head, I just having this comic where like someone puts like the way I lost my virginity, and they put down a thing next to it, and it says like balls, Vatican, and then like Enrico Iglesias, and then 6 panels of just the entire room laughing like hysterically, and then someone turning the camera and just going outrageous. Like that's what that reminds me of. Like that's the Apple or that's the Cards Against Humanity experience. Like it's like oh man, we are bad. Like it's there's this weird like self-apologetic like aspect to it.
Yeah.
Just,
Are we
I
being
don't know.
naughty?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Okay.
that's how it markets itself that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a funny question. Has there ever been a group of people who played Cards Against Humanity that wasn't entirely white?
Probably probably not very often. Like it's definitely on. It's probably on stuff white people like.
Yeah. I'm really angry at the stuff white people like, not for a couple of reasons, but foremost, I thought that I came up with the term the unbearable whiteness of being, and here I go walking by a bookshelf and I see stuff white people like. This is a title I would be interested in. Then I see it on the back of the cover. It's like what?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always frustrating.
Yeah.
Armageddon Deep Impact situation with you and those guys.
with the far more prolific, like popular guys. Damn it, swooping my style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, not to kindle this for far too long, but man, I don't know. Like, apples to apples, the worst case scenario for that is you just get with a bunch of people who are too literal minded.
Yeah,
Like,
or the opposite, or just are too like
Too
humor
random.
is only found in the least appropriate thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've never had fun playing that game, and I played with all kinds of people. Like whenever I said that, people said you have to play with the right people. It's like no, I have good friends. Like I played with people who I like.
Yeah.
It just, I think it is a poorly designed game.
It's kind of a shrewd business model though. The idea that he sells like expansion packs for it.
Yeah, like pretty consistent. Like it's an interesting thing. Like one of the things he did that rubbed me the wrong way is after the PAX thing came out. Like in the PAX that last year is where he went to it and there was all these things like they called their booth a safe space, which didn't really mean anything, and it's like there's all these like they took all the rape cards out of it, the ones that refer to rape, but like there's still some things that are kind of problematic in the cards. But then he wrote this big essay about how like the only way to change PAX is from within, and like we're still going to go because like just quitting it and boycotting it's not going to do anything. And there's just this weird sense that I got where it's like, oh, it was very successful for you. Like you made so much money at this thing. Like, I can just see there's a weird way that he rubs me as like somebody who could be playing the progressives in a way to be, immoral.
Yeah.
Like playing that card is what it feels like a little bit.
Yeah. But, yeah. I don't know. Like, again, commenting on the way somebody should have played it. Like, if he just came out and said, like, oh, I need to make money. It's my business. And a lot of people who want to buy my game are going to be there. Too bad. I disagree with what they're doing.
Yeah, totally. And tons of people did say that. Like tons of indie, game developer people were like, "Hey, this is where the PAX 10 is," which is like the biggest way to get people to play your game before it comes out. And like that's bared out in my experience, where that's how I discovered tons of games before they came out, and tons of little indie games. And just saying like I can't. There's not really a venue for this.
Yeah.
That's a fair statement. I don't begrudge anyone for doing that kind of thing if they have to.
Yeah.
And I'm not even begrudging other people who decide to go. I'm not to that point. Like, I decided, like, I feel kind of gross about it, and
yeah,
that's it. So, but like, you could just kind of be upfront about those kind of things and come off a little bit better, and it just sounds a little bit less disingenuous. And, like, I don't necessarily even think he's a bad guy. Like, I think he probably is a good guy. I think that it's possible that he just kind of has this weird reputation to uphold as being this kind of, like, liberal paragon. And it would just be hard for him to, do anything that flies in the face of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm talking a lot of shit. I don't really mean to be talking shit. It's just kind of an interesting thing from a punditry standpoint. I don't know the truth of any of these things.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting thing to read about and think about.
Yeah, like I think it stems back to like a fear of hypocrisy, which is the least productive thing you can.
Yeah. Like hypocrisy does not invalidate everything that you've done or said.
Yeah.
It's good for you to change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Huh.
Flip-flopping.
Flippity-flopping. I don't have anything I'm angry at, aside from the fact that I could talk about traffic and just the idea that I'm angry that sports events shut down entire cities, namely the city I live in, and the fact that I have to drive by both Red Stadium and Bengals Stadium.
Yeah. City of Bengals.
We do have lots of bridges, I guess.
Yeah. He's crying under the bridge.
Yeah. We've been going about 90 minutes. Do we want to call it?
Yeah, we could call it. If anybody has any last minute questions, they can pop them in. But this is kind of a scheduling fuck up, and this will be one for the tapes.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Can you define one for the tapes for me?
Just one that, like, rather than being a live event, it's going to be more for the podcast and more, more for the record, I guess would have been a better way to put it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I wasn't like, what the fuck did you?
Oh no, it was a malapropism. Like, it was not a good expression. Also, I'm looking forward to turning on all my fans again because I'm warm.
Yes, understood. Yeah. So, just in terms of checking in on stuff, thank you everybody who's listening, who has donated. Huge things happen for the network here this month. Most notably, the Abject Suffering About Dudes with Attitude, which I've listened to twice, which is rare for things.
Yeah.
Wide frequency iPhones. Also the new audio interface. Going to be ordering the new preamp for the second one, and just using your funds to build things out, and then just kind of seeing that number go up. It is incredibly heartening. We're going to be talking about new goals here for the future. Where, this train keeps going, and that is not to say like, ooh, give us more, but new problems solved by this, by the support that you're giving to us, also opens up like new opportunities that we can, pursue. So
it also means that like if you're not necessarily, people didn't support the Patreon because they saw that we needed a premixer.
Yeah.
If they're going to support the Patreon, having new goals means that we're using that money to make the show better, and we're not just hookers and blow.
A much better way to say that. Yeah.
So it is a positive thing and a transparent thing. It's not a greedy thing.
Yes, for sure. Is there anything else like network-wise that
No. Tune in next month, listen to our shows, read our stuff. I don't think we have any other big announcements. The next time we do this will be a month before PRGE, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be a real fun time.
Yeah.
And that's also related to the Patreon, so good on you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have to start training for that.
Training.
I do. So for the game we're doing.
Oh, you're right. Oh God.
Yep.
you want to announce that next month?
Yeah, let's announce it next month.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be good. We have to decide which. Is it going to give it away to say which one?
I think we should do the Super Nintendo one.
Oh yes, definitely. But there are
Oh,
multiple.
but which one?
Yeah.
I think that it's similar to the Mario Kart one. We can discuss all of them on the panel, and then just choose. Well, this is giving it away, I'm sure. But then choose one of them just to have at the booth, and I'm fine with it being any of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
In the interest of having more to talk about, let's not do the basic one. Let's do one of the later ones.
Okay. Cool.
So.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So with that little bit of planning out of the way, I want to thank everybody who is watching this and listening to it and submitted questions. Keep your eye out. We're going to try and be a little bit better about planning this next time. As much as you can, plan around somebody having a kid.
Yeah. When we say we're going to be better at playing this, we really mean Gen Furia.
Yes. That's her body.
Yeah. So, and if we're being really honest, if somebody dropped the ball.
Yeah. Yes, man. She's such a delightful woman, but she will end you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, my brother Chris wants to know if he comes on, will people ask questions about things other than video games?
Yeah. Yeah.
Screen a bunch of softball questions. So.
Yeah. You mean about softball?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then I'll check out and you guys can just do it. I don't know anything about softball.
Overhand or underhand?
Yeah. It feels like because of those damn Ross kids, like that would be a good episode to do, like more would you rather-y questions and more like prompt question stuff. So that would be a good one to get way out in front of.
Yeah.
When we know he's going to come on and
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And even if somebody does ask a video game question, it'll be because we'll answer and then Chris will just make fun of us.
Yes. He will do that mercilessly.
Yep.
Cool. Well, let's make it so Gary can cool off his entire self.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks everybody.
Yep, thanks everybody.
Bye.